Okay, get your laugh, NFL fans, and especially Panthers fans. I'm fired. But the Panthers are still going to be bad. I mean, they already lost terribly to the Rams, and now they're playing Tom Brady. They're going to miss me. Okay, fuck! What's going on, Falcons fans? Logan here. Welcome back to Rise Up Rundown, and if you're new here, welcome. Let's be honest, as Falcons fans, we most definitely looked at this Falcons versus Panthers game in Week 8 before, obviously, this week, as in, before we started to play the Bengals and before the Panthers started to play the Bucs. We always looked at this matchup like, oh, this is going to be an easy game, but then after that, oh man, the Chargers, that's going to be a tough one. Well, all of a sudden, the Panthers got this giant upset, probably the biggest upset of the year, and they beat Tom Brady, but they didn't just beat Tom Brady, they literally beat the living out of him. And the Falcons lost pretty terribly, and they have a terrible corner situation. And it kind of looks like this game is going to be a lot harder than it was supposed to be. And I do worry because while I am proud of how my schedule predictions over the summer has held up, actually, I am pretty sure that all of my schedule predictions have actually aged 100%, or at least close to it. Like, I said that we were going to start 0-2 versus the Saints and Rams, then get a bounce back versus the Seahawks. I think I said we'd get a win versus the Browns. I said we'd lose to the Bucs. Then I said the 49ers game was kind of like I was on and off about it, but I know there was one game where I said we'd win, and then I said we'd lose to the Bengals. During those schedule predictions videos, I also said that this would be the Panthers game that we drop, and we lose to the Chargers and we start 3-6. And judging off of how the Falcons played last week and how the Panthers played last week, that's really not that crazy to think. But I really hope I'm wrong, and last week was simply just a fluke for this Panthers team, right? Like, this is supposed to be a team that fired their head coach and they have nothing to work for, which is another thing I predicted over the offseason, by the way, is that the Panthers would fire Matt Rule before the season even ends. But I'm kind of worried all of a sudden. That's all I'm really trying to say. All of a sudden, I'm kind of worried. There's a lot of things to talk about for this Panthers team, and let's go over it right now. So we're going to start with some key additions and losses for the Panthers, and there's a ton. Last week, it was funny, because I said I literally don't know anything the Bengals added or lost. And this week, Panthers have a lot of things to talk about. Obviously, the first thing to talk about is that Christian McCaffrey is traded. Now, it probably is a little too early to decide if that's going to hurt or help them, but he's gone is all we need to know. And then the other thing that we need to talk about, Jacob Eason is in a backup quarterback. That one doesn't really matter too much. I just thought it was kind of funny as us Georgia fans, or most Georgia fans. I know not everyone here is a Georgia Bulldogs fan, but most of us kind of just remember Jacob Eason, and if he plays, which honestly isn't that impossible to think considering how bad this quarterback situation is for the Panthers. I don't know, I just kind of thought that was kind of funny, but Robbie Anderson is gone, so we have one less receiver to worry about. Steve Wilks is the interim head coach, so the play calling might be a little different than how it was early on in the year. And last but not least, their center Pat Elflein is on IR, so a lot of things to talk about for this Panthers squad. And for the Falcons, Marlon Davidson is released, which surprised me. I did want him gone, I'll be honest with you, but I just didn't think it was going to happen. I thought he was going to get released at the end of the year, I'll be honest with you, because let's be honest, everyone knew that he wasn't going to stay for much longer. But I just didn't think he was going to be released literally right now, basically. I was like, okay. All right, well, see ya. Thanks for nothing. And then the other thing is, I don't know what to say about this DB problem. There's so many injuries, and even when they're healthy, the DBs have been kind of off and on. AJ Terrell admittedly has kind of just been off and on this year, and Casey Hayward, same thing. He's mostly good this year, but still has his moments. Isaiah Oliver, same thing. His moments are there, but not all there. So yeah, this DB situation is just, I don't know what to say. So what are some things to watch out for? as bad as the record might say the Panthers are, they're really not a bad team. Like, Christian McCaffrey is gone, but they had a great run game last week. Chuba Hubbard had 9 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown, and then Deontay Foreman last week had 15 carries for 118 yards. And that was against the Buccaneers defense. Now, granted, the Bucs run defense is the weakest part of their defense, but still, that's the Buccaneers defense. And with Christian McCaffrey gone, they adjusted pretty quickly. And they also have mobility at quarterback, so that's never anything to sleep on. Their run defense also averages 4.1 yards per carry, which is actually pretty good. And their pass defense still has some young players like, what is his name? The guy from South Carolina. But whoever they got at the DB from South Carolina, I'm forgetting his name. Wow, I'm forgetting his name. But they have that one guy from South Carolina that's pretty good. And he's basically playing for his hometown, so that motivates him. And then also, a lot of the star quarterbacks that they played, these are some noticeable stats that this pass defense has, I guess, prevented against their quarterbacks. Like Tom Brady only had 60 for 22 attempts, 177 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Probably should have had 3, but Mike Evans dropped 1, but still. And then Kyler Murray, he got it late in the game, but early on in the game, he looked terrible. Like 23 for 32, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And then Jacoby Brissett, 18 for 34, 147 yards, and a touchdown. And no offense, but this is only Marcus Mariota they're playing. I know I'm kind of roasting the Falcons all of a sudden, but this is just, I'm basically saying we should worry a little bit. And their passing offense is still pretty good despite the quarterback situation. For one thing, the Falcons have a weird DB situation, like a lot of injuries and just flashy players. But they just haven't really been all that great this year. They've been good, but not great. I think that's a good way of putting it. But also, they still have DJ Moore and Ian Thomas, so that's always something not to sleep on. But what are some possible breakouts for the Falcons? I only have one, and that's the run game, because when does it ever not break out? Everything else just needs to step up, which is going to lead to the keys to victory. We need to outrun the defense, because the Panthers are also a run-heavy team. And I actually missed a stat here, but I'm pretty sure the Panthers are one of the top 5 teams as far as red zone scoring offense, and the Falcons are too, I think. So we both basically usually score in the red zone. But my point is, we need to outrun them, and we have got to get the passing game going, because if we don't get the passing game going, how are we going to win? This is clear, and I kind of have a gut feeling Desmond Ridder might get in finally. But we'll see. It's a big game, actually. We weren't expecting it, but it is. And it's a divisional game. The Panthers have beaten both the Saints and the Bucs. Let's hope they don't beat the Falcons. But that's all I got. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Stay safe and rise up.